you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Wendy Cross, and I am delighted to participate in this session of the CBA's Take 10 virtual presentation. Today, we have two very dynamic speakers who I think are not unfamiliar to you. They are two of our finest local councilwomen, Jan-Michele Kearney and Betsy Sundermann. And today's topic is civility and collaboration among unlikely allies. Both were appointed to City of Cincinnati City Council in March of 2020. They both have an extensive amount of service to our community, and their bios are long. And so what I want to say before they get started is one is a Republican and the other is a Democrat. And this is a great and will prove to be a great presentation and discussion about how people collaborate and are civil among each other. And so I'm going to turn it over to them. I'm going to ask that everyone will turn off your camera during the presentation and mute yourself. And then after the presentation, we will ask you to unmute and also to turn your camera back on. So thank you so very much. And Councilwoman Jan-Michele, Councilwoman Betsy Sundermann, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Judge Cross. We appreciate that. And thank you, everybody at the Cincinnati Bar Association for being here with us today. I think this will be a really great discussion, and so I'm looking forward to it. I love doing programs with Betsy. When we first started, she was actually the only woman on council, and then I came a week later, so it was just the two of us. But before we talk about council, I thought, let me go back and talk a little bit about when I first started practicing law. So I'll just briefly talk about that. So, I was in the litigation department of Taft, Stettinius, and Hollister, and they sent me to do kind of eviction law. That was one of the main things that young attorneys did to learn about how to navigate the court system. And so I was often up against legal aid attorneys and, just became friends with them. I mean, we talked, we had to do a lot of negotiations to try to get a fair result for both sides. And I just really enjoyed working with them. I think we both came out, both sides came out doing really well, which kind of taught me that it's good to be able to sit down and talk to the opposing side for us to understand where our clients were and understand what kind of result we needed so that our clients felt they were getting a fair outcome. And also there were times, honestly, as women, I mean, this goes back to 1991, where I felt that as women, we weren't being treated well by some judges. And so I remember reaching out to Sue Leibensberger, for example, who has since passed. Some of you might remember her. She was a fantastic attorney, but she was often my opposing counsel. And I reached out to her and I said, did you feel that we were being disrespected, like both of us? And so she kind of gave me a little history about, how things happen in court, because she had been practicing quite a few years before I started. And she gave me good advice and we became great friends. And there was another opposing counsel, Evelyn Marshall, and she actually ended up being the godmother for my daughter. So, I mean, you just, you never know. And it's really great to be able to work with others. And so in terms of just looking at, how you work with people who are in different parties, for example, politically. So when my husband, Eric Kearney, was in the state Senate, there are 33 state senators. The Democrats only had 10 at that time, and I think there are a few less now. So in order to get anything done, he had to work across the aisle. So I watched a lot of that, and I watched him become, friends, and if not great friends, just, having, a great relationship with other attorneys, so that with other senators, so that they could work together and actually get something done. So when I got appointed to city council in March, I was happy that there was another woman on council, and that was Betsy. I didn't know whether we would get along, but we just hit it off right away. Um, and we don't agree on a lot. I mean, she's Republican, I'm a Democrat. We come from different viewpoints. There are things we agree on. We both really support women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, small businesses. So we've worked together doing certification seminars, for example, because we both feel that businesses, small businesses need a lot of help, especially during the pandemic. We go to lunch and we talk about things we agree on, don't agree on. Working with her has been a really great relationship. We've both had similar struggles of coming into a position where there wasn't a lot of support just because City Hall was closed. And so we're figuring things out together. And having someone who's new like me was just really helpful. And just being able to talk to her about different issues. It's also a good idea to talk to people who don't agree with you all the time, because it challenges you to actually be better and to look at what it is you're proposing to see, well, maybe this could be better. I mean, Betsy always challenges me on, where's the money coming from? You want to do this, where's that funding? What kind of funding source? And so, I'm really careful to always look at that before I put a motion forth, because I know she's going to challenge me on that. Like, where's your funding source for that motion? And so, and I think that's really a plus. And so actually, I think, being friends with her and just having a good working relationship with her has made me a better council person, because, I'm able to hear different points of view and to understand different points of view. So I think that's really important. I just want to point out, since, we're talking about the Supreme Court Commission on Professionalism, Betsy and I talk about this a lot, but we think maybe one reason that we're able to disagree in council and even, zealously represent our own points of view and our own motions, even though we might not agree, is because we are attorneys, and that's part of our training. And so I was looking at the Supreme Court of Ohio's Lawyers Creed that was created in 1997. And, some of the do's and don'ts for attorneys are things that I think we naturally do now, we naturally do as council people. One of the do's is be courteous. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. Like, why not be courteous? What's the advantage of being rude and disrespectful? I don't even really get that. It doesn't help you win. It doesn't help you get your point across. It doesn't help you serve your constituents at all. Another is, to be cooperative in your working relationship with others. Try to understand where the other side is coming from. Doesn't mean you have to agree. You're not necessarily going to, but at least you can understand and try to work something out so that you come up to a win-win situation. Keep your word was another thing, and I think that goes across life, every relationship. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Keep your word about it, so that people respect your honesty and your integrity. That's important no matter what you're doing. And then some of the don'ts, I'm like, isn't this obvious? But apparently not. Like, don't be belligerent. Don't be insulting. Don't be demeaning to others. Don't publicly disparage others. I mean, why would we do that? I don't understand that at all. Like, why would we do that? That does not help you win. Learning to work together with someone else is really how you win. And frankly, that kind of attitude that Betsy and I have brought, I think, maybe has helped council in general. One of my main fears of being appointed to council was hearing all that talk about, not necessarily the current council, but just in general, city council is known for being, belligerent. Everybody says, oh, they're so contentious. They argue all the time. And, my feeling was, this is a time of need. We're in a pandemic, and then there was racial unrest following that. People are suffering. We've got work to do. We've got to get the work done. So I don't have time and energy to sit around in petty bickering. Like, let's get to work. I want to hear your point of view. We're going to, argue about this in a professional manner. And at the end, we're going to come out better for the citizens of Cincinnati. That's why I'm here. So, and I have found that maybe because of our presence, Betsy, I'm thinking, maybe we can take some credit for that, but I find that, we're working together as a council, and that's really positive.
Yeah, I agree with everything Jan-Michele said. I can work with anyone who I feel is a person of integrity, a person who's doing really what they think is the right thing to do, whether I agree with it or not. When you have problems working with politicians is when you think they're just pandering to somebody, or they're beholden to a donor or something like that. But I truly believe Jan-Michele does what she thinks is good in her heart for the city. So I respect her, even if we disagree on things. And that's how you have to look at it. You can't look at it that your position is the right position and the other person's position is the wrong position. So, my position is influenced by the fact that I'm a woman, the fact that I'm white, the fact that I was born maybe in a certain part of town, or that I went to a certain school, or that I've been around certain people. We're all influenced by what's been around us our whole lives. So the positions I have are based on that. And Jan-Michele may have been raised completely differently, and maybe her opinions are based on what she's experienced in life. And it doesn't make either one of us right, even though I'm right most of the time, but it doesn't make either one of us necessarily right, but it just means that we have different opinions. And you have to be open to respecting another person's opinion, even if you don't agree with it. So I would encourage people to, if I disagree with Jan-Michele, I don't try to convince her that she's wrong. I try to explain to her why I believe what I believe. And that's really different. And we saw that with the presidential election. Everyone was fighting like, you're an idiot. How can you vote for that person? You should vote for my person. Where it's more strategic to explain to someone why you support an idea than to try to convince them that they're wrong. Because at least if you bridge that gap and they at least understand why you believe something, then you build that respect of differing opinions. And I was so excited when Jan-Michele got on council because we were the only two women. And we started a week apart, and we definitely helped each other. And as you've seen, a lot of our coworkers have gotten indicted over the last year, one of them today. And when Jan-Michele started, a lot of people who I trust in the law community came to me and they said, she is a good person. She will not get indicted. You can hang out with her. You can partner with her. And I said, okay, she's my new friend. I said, there aren't a lot of other people around here who a lot of people are vouching for. So we made quick friends, and I said, I can be in pictures with her. I can do events with her. I can be in the newspaper with her. And I don't think she's going to embarrass the city or embarrass me for being involved with her. Another thing that Jan-Michele said, we don't take personal jabs at anybody. I remember Chris Seelbach said to me once, he said, I think it's really cool that you don't personally attack me on anything. And I said, well, there's so much to attack you on with all of your votes, so I don't need to go personal. And he's like, right. Yeah. And you attack someone's ideas. You don't say someone's an idiot or they're stupid or, that's just, if a lawyer went into court and said that about a case, you would just say, they didn't really prepare. They're just stomping around and yelling. That's how you know someone's unprepared, right? So when someone goes into council and starts yelling and stomping around, I don't really listen to what they say. And Jan-Michele's right. We have kept it civil in council. There have been lots of times where there have been bickering and fights. And I usually pull her aside afterwards and I say, look, we're never involved in that. We just sit back, we let them have their little fights with each other, and then we leave and we go have our lives.
Yeah, we don't have time for that. Yeah, too much work to do.
But being lawyers definitely helps. As a prosecutor, I had tons of defense attorney friends, and I would go to lunch with them, in the middle of a trial. We'd have a jury trial, and then I'd say, why don't we go to lunch? And we'd just talk about our lives, and then we'd go back to trial and we'd be adversaries. That's what being a lawyer is. It's taking your position of your client or your, in our case, the position you believe and fighting for it, but then not hating the people who disagree with you. Court would be miserable if you hated all the other lawyers. There are a couple lawyers we all hate, I'm sure, but overall, overall, I like lawyers and I like hanging out with lawyers, whether they're defense, prosecution, civil, whatever, because they're just fun people. I don't know. What do you think, Jim?
Betsy, are you going to mention your marital situation?
Oh, yes. I'm married to a Democrat. So that's been my practice on how to get along with Jan-Michele. But my husband and I tell people all the time that Republicans and Democrats really agree on 80% of stuff, or even more, 90% of stuff. The media focuses on the 10 or 20% that we don't agree on. Jan-Michele and I agree on most things probably in life, but the media only likes to write articles about the things we disagree on, right? So most Americans probably agree on most things, but because of our two-party system, we have to focus on the extreme things in each party. But if you can just kind of set that aside and get along with people, we can get a lot more done on city council. I know as a Republican, if I was just stomping around and not getting along with anyone, it would be impossible for me to do anything. I have to get along with the other council members.
Yeah, and I think we all have a really good working relationship. I mean, there's no one on council that I feel like I really can't work with. And I think most of us have co-sponsored motions and ordinances with each other, so it all crosses over, which is great. And then Betsy and I are working on some things coming up. For example, a youth leadership academy and a youth council. We're both planning that. That's coming up soon. So there are lots of things we're actually doing together. And it makes it wonderful.
I think the easiest council members to work with are the lawyers. I mean, from the mayor to the council, if you ask me, who do you like working with? I'll say, look to the lawyers, because the lawyers are able to put aside all the emotion and the drama, usually, and just kind of figure out, where you have things in common, and then file a motion and get stuff done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely helps a lot. And then we're all after council, even after we've had like a really contentious session, we're out in the hall, laughing and talking with each other, and it's fine. So, all right.
Yeah, the current council members are very pleasant to work with.
Yeah. One thing here's a good example. Affordable housing is a huge issue in Cincinnati, as you know. And on one of our committees, economic growth and zoning, Vice Mayor Sundermann started a subcommittee on affordable housing. So everybody's working together to come up with some solutions for the affordable housing crisis. And, we're bringing in different speakers, and, we agree with some, don't agree with others. We have different ideas that we're getting, but we're all working together. And, it's really great to see.
So yeah, and I think we approach affordable housing very differently. We have different ideas on how to solve the problem. But we're willing to, be on this subcommittee. We're going to work through it and come to a compromise.
Well, we have different ideas, as do the people of Cincinnati. So, I mean, that's not a bad thing. But we're working, we're moving forward, and I think that's a plus. So, I was going to say there are a lot of good things happening in City Hall. You'll probably only hear about the bad stuff because maybe that's like sexier news, but there are a lot of positive things happening down here.
But all of the drama and everything keeps people from wanting to be in politics. I mean, all the trolling on social media, all of the, public speakers who come in and they're all angry at us. And, when I'm shopping at Kroger and people stop me and they have an opinion about everything, like that kind of stuff, it can be overwhelming to a lot of people. Being in the news all the time. I mean, so I think the media feeds into this incivility a lot. And if we could kind of rope in some of the Twitter trolls or the media or something like that, we might get a lot more good candidates wanting to run.
Yeah, the trolls are difficult. It was just kind of funny because I really wasn't doing a lot of Twitter before getting on council. So when I got on council, I got my Twitter account more active. And before I had even gone to one council meeting, someone asked me about Metro. Council had just voted, and I wasn't even there yet, but they had just voted on, oh no, they didn't have to vote because this was an emergency ordinance. So Metro had just decided to do free fares. So this was back in March. And so someone asked me on Twitter, why are why is Metro doing free fares and doesn't council have to vote on it? And I think I've answered, oh, that's such a good question. The reason is because, we're under this, state of emergency. And so they sent me something back saying, council is just ridiculous. You need to resign. And I thought, resign? I haven't even been to a meeting yet. So like my feelings were, really hurt. And so, my husband said, just suck it up, because that's how social media is. You're going to have people trolling and saying negative things. So, I just thought, well, that comes with the territory.
Right, but you and I can go in and vote differently on an issue, and you'll get told to resign and I'll get told to resign. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
it comes from both sides. It's
I
great.
just want us gone, but we're here to stay, right?
Yeah.
So we're here working for the people of Cincinnati. So yeah.
But do you guys have any questions?
Oh,
I
Judge,
want to say thank you so very much. Am I unmuted? Yes.
yes, you are.
Thank you so much. This is tremendous.